Hey everybody, welcome to the Age of Reason podcast. We're here now for the fan of thought. How you doing?
Not bad, man. We had a nice couple week break. Got the interview in and took a week off, so I'm feeling rejuvenated here, ready to kick some ass.
Well, it sounds like there's plenty of ass kicking going around the world, but we'll get to that. And then, yeah, the interview. Thanks again, AJ, for filling in there and giving us kind of an inside scoop into the film industry. If you guys haven't heard that, you can find that on the website or through your podcast feed. So we got a lot to cover. Alex, let's just jump right into it. What do you got for news?
Oh, I think we're gonna start off with Sunday school today.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm
We're,
a
we're,
creature of
we're
habit, I
bringing
guess.
we're bringing it back here.
All right. Hold on. Here we go. How do we do? Oh yeah, this is what it was. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, bow your heads. Let us think. What do you got, Pastor Gutierrez?
So today we're gonna talk a little bit about Passover, the Jewish holiday Passover, and Passover is the oldest known religious holiday. It's to commemorate the Jewish people being freed by God, of course, from their years of slavery from the Egyptians. So, everybody kind of knows a little bit about the story, but I think the interesting part that I found was going over the 10 plagues that God cast upon the Egyptians before the Jewish people were freed.
Wait,
So
not the loving God.
Oh yeah, that one.
Oh, my mistake.
So we're gonna go over those just quickly. So the first one is water into blood, and this is a quote from God. So with a staff that is in my hand, I will strike the water of the Nile, and it will be changed into blood. The fish of the Nile will die, and the river will stink, and the Egyptians will not be able to drink its water. Goddamn stinky water.
The river will stink, and I will kill you with death.
But yeah, so starting off, he just goes big, goes for the water. I mean, we already had the floods and all that, so this one's a little different. But the Nile, I don't know if you've ever heard of that ancient river, the Nile, that it's not in existence anymore. But yeah, so
Wait, what?
no, I mean obviously the Nile's still there. He didn't destroy it, so he kind of
Oh,
failed.
that's a good point. No, it's not the largest river in Africa, right? Yeah, it is the largest river in Africa. I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. And the next one is, I mean, it's a little bit of irony here, but the next one is frogs, and these obviously they come in order. And one of the quotes from God, I just cherry picked a little bit, but the Nile will teem with frogs. It's like, what the hell? You just destroyed it. The last plague. Um,
The frogs are doing the new dance called the Stanky River.
Oh, okay. So then after that, we had the frogs. So again, oh no, I'm sorry, frogs. Sorry. The next one is lice, another little animal. So the quote from God here is, "Stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout the land of Egypt." So I don't know if he's talking about lice or crabs because
Well, or his big, as Tim Minchin would put it, his big, stiff, slippery rod of judgment.
I never heard that, but I like
You got to listen to it. He's got a good song called 10 Foot Cock and a Few Hundred Virgins. It's awesome.
it.
I was actually just listening to it when we were getting ready here.
Nice. Um, yeah. So then after the lice, we have boils, and that one's just pretty gross. It's supposed to happen to all the people, as well as all the animals.
Why the
Uh,
animals?
God-forsaken animals.
They don't have souls, so I guess.
The next one is a thunderstorm of hail. And being from Modesto, California, I I don't know how that's a plague. I mean,
It
happens
certainly
all the
happens
time.
here in Colorado, like big ass hail balls, big balls
Yeah.
of hail with the stiff, slippery rod of judgment.
So I mean, that one's not too bad. Hailstorm, but I guess it was supposed to be the greatest hailstorm since Egypt was funded. And I was like, how the hell was Egypt funded? But
Funded,
uh,
really?
yeah, that might not have been the biblical term, but the site that I was using, that's the term they use. So,
Hmm.
uh, so the next one is the classic one. I think everybody's heard of the locusts. Swarms of locusts will come and eat all the crops and everything. And I was watching a show recently. I mean, that still happens. It's not a
They're all over
biblical
Arizona.
event. Oh, really?
Yeah, there's locusts. You can hear them. There's like
Oh, I was.
in certain neighborhoods, there's a constant like zzz going on, and it never
Oh,
goes
shit.
away.
I never
Yeah.
been around that. I know Australia was the place that I was. The video I was watching was about it, and they have huge swarms that are, I mean, just amazingly in numbers, just huge,
Huge.
um, huge. So yeah, so locust. The next one, we're at 9, so we're almost there. Is darkness for 3 days. So God asked Moses to stretch out his hands toward the sky, and somehow that brought darkness for 3 days, and nobody could.
He had a really big blanket in his hands.
And like nobody could move from their spot for 3 days. It's just weird thing. But so back to the peaceful God that you spoke about. So this last one is the most interesting slash horrifying, and it's the death of the firstborn sons. So this is a quote, from the Bible again here. So about midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne, to the firstborn of the slave girl who was at her handmill, and the firstborn of the cattle as well. See, they have no mercy, no
No.
mercy for those animals.
Fuck you, cows.
There will be a loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there has ever been or ever will be. Uh,
Murr.
so that so this, the firstborn, death of firstborns is the 10th plague. God told Moses to command his people, the Israelis, Jewish, to mark lamb's blood over their door, so God would pass over their houses when killing the firstborn. So that's where the name Passover comes from. So it's a nice, peaceful
Also,
term.
sacrificial lamb, lamb of God.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the part that I just thought was pretty funny here is, so supposedly, I mean, God is going to be the one going through Egypt at about midnight. His clock might be a little off, but um, why the hell would the all-knowing God need lamb's blood on the doors?
Well, I think it was more of a symbol as in I'm with God. Like I think it was more of a pledge of allegiance. So I don't think it wasn't. I don't think it was. I mean, obviously, God slaughters animals. Poor Hindus. I mean, shit, just mercilessly killing cows. But I mean, that was more of a hey, God, faith, all that other shit. Um, but I mean, what is with him and firstborns? I mean, there was there was a ram that was sacrificed by Abraham instead of that prank that God pulled on Abraham over Isaac. Um, yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, being the oldest of the both of us, I'm not really keen on this idea here.
Yeah, actually, both of us are the firstborn, are we? Yeah, I don't know, but um, I mean that's not the craziest story out of the Bible, but hey, certain people do honor Passover. Alex, I'm gonna go first with news because I just have a good tie-in for this. Um, somebody that really honors the Jews and their wait, are we done with Skeptic Sunday School?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's just a quick update on Passover and the good old plagues of God.
Well, probably on the public stage shouldn't make comments like Sean Spicer did today. We actually have some like breaking news, which we don't get very often because we only do the show once a week. Sean Spicer this morning was given a press conference, and during that press conference, he compared Assad of Syria to Hitler. And one of the things that he said was Hitler did not use gas on his people. Soak that in. Soak it in. Soak it in.
I woke up and saw the clip, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what are we doing?"
How long was I asleep? What the fuck is happening? So yes, Spicer basically was trying to say that Assad was actually worse than Hitler because even Hitler didn't gas his people. There's a few issues with that, other than the historical inaccuracy. One is he's basically saying the Jews weren't citizens of Germany, which is pretty much what Hitler was saying. They were subhuman. They weren't people, therefore they weren't citizens. And by Sean Spicer basically saying that, he's acknowledging the fact that Jews were not citizens when he says that Assad did this to his citizens and Hitler did not. But apparently gas chambers weren't a thing.
No, what was it? Holocaust camps?
No. I'm getting there. He tried to explain, and when he tries to explain, he was cracking. Like there's a lot of that, and he called them Holocaust centers.
Oh,
centers for Holocaust. It sounds like a very bad outreach program. Holocaust centers. And later on, he then ran to CNN, to Wolf Blitzer, not Fox for some reason. I thought he'd be, talking to Hannity or something, but he ran to Wolf Blitzer, who I'll give Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper credit. Neither one of them, especially Wolf Blitzer to his face, cut him zero slack, like none whatsoever. Wolf Blitzer asked him if he thought that his job was coming to an end. Obviously, he said no. He basically said, well, this isn't your first blunder, my friend. And
or should we consider you credible or something?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, should we question your credibility? And at the very end, he's like, well, thank you for coming on here and talking about your mistake. And just the way he said, he was just railing him. So I've never said this before. I don't think anybody ever has, but good job, Wolf Blitzer. And this was funny. I was watching his apology. I didn't watch it live on Blitzer, but, I was watching his apology on Anderson Cooper, and I thought I heard Spicer say this when he was playing the clip, and then Anderson actually said that he said it. So I was like, okay, I heard him correctly. He said, I don't want to step on the efforts of I don't want to step on the president's efforts to destabilize the Middle East. And I went, did he just say destabilize? And then as soon as the clip ended, Anderson Cooper goes, all right, before we start, did he say destabilize the Middle East?
Yeah.
That's some truth shit coming out right there.
That's the plan, destabilize.
So, all right, next up we had a shooting yesterday at a school in San Bernardino. Everybody should know that city by now after what happened in December of 2015. Basically, we had a guy that had some issues with his wife. I haven't gotten any details on exactly what that was, but this guy was a pastor and showed up at the school and shot his wife and I believe injured one student, and another one died from injuries. The two students were next to her when he walked in. Apparently he walked in, didn't say a word, and just started firing with some type of revolver.
Murder-suicide. It's unbelievably sad that we have to say, the new shooting event that happened in San Bernardino.
Right.
And that's just shows the culture that we have here that, I mean, pretty much this was just, 2 years ago, the last one. So yeah, it's very sad. You mentioned that he was a pastor, and you don't see that in a lot of reports. But when the atheist guy came out, the guy that was maybe an atheist that was like, oh, atheist killer. Um, so yeah, it's another unfortunate event.
Yeah, this was guy's name was Cedric Anderson. He was 53 years old. Lived in Riverside, and quoting from CNN here, walked into the classroom armed with a large caliber revolver and opened fire, in quotes here, without saying a word, killing Karen Elaine Smith, who was also 53 and also from Riverside. So she was teaching the class, and one of the she died. One of the students died from injuries, and then he killed himself. He was on talk radio shows for Christianity, that sort of thing, and you know, we're not taking this opportunity to bash Christians and say Christians are bad people. They all commit murder or anything like that. I mean, sure enough, their God does, but this is more about whenever I do something nice for somebody, I hate being told bless you. I brought somebody water the other day. They were dehydrated, about to pass out. And I had access to water, went and grabbed water, brought it back to him, and I got a God bless you. And the person that was standing next to me, I don't think the guy heard me, but the person I know standing next to me heard me go. So it's just Christianity. Your morals do not come from your religion. That's the point.
Yep.
So the one other news topic that I have is, the Republicans are at it again. And believe me, I'm going to blast the fuck out of the Republicans today. It is the return of not only Skeptic Sunday School, but Giant Dicks of History. And one of the things that they just did last week was they removed an Obama-era retirement benefit plan that's put on by the states. It won in the Senate from a 50 to 49 vote. And it removed the Obama-era regulation for retirement options for low-income workers through the state. Senator Warren did say before the vote was cast, she commented on the vote, or after the vote, I'm sorry. She commented on the vote stating that trade associations and chambers of commerce have been lobbying the GOP to repeal this regulation because it offers better retirement options at lower costs. Once again, what are they doing to help the little guy? They have not put one regulation or law forward to actually help the American people. Not one. So just remember that. All of Trump's executive orders, whether you want to say, oh, he's not racist for his Muslim ban, even though Saudi Arabia wasn't included, or anything else out of his executive orders that he's put forward, not one of them, including dumping waste into water streams, is helping anybody. So
and I mean, to take that the next step there, it's, I mean, obviously hurting people. I'm pretty much siding with corporations on every opportunity, as well as basically putting the middle finger to his voters. So yeah, it's actually been, not only are they not seeing things get better, it's getting worse. So yeah, hopefully something changes, but I wouldn't plan on that.
Yeah,
it's not looking like it.
Who knew? I don't know. Yeah. I wish somebody would have told us it was going to work out this way.
So speaking of Trump's good deeds here. So his Jeff Sessions, his attorney general, just today, I just saw this, was speaking at an ICE and Border Patrol. He had like a meeting for them. And listen to this, a little bit of irony. So God bless all of you, turning to the Border Patrol people. And God bless, and God's blessing on the success of this effort to improve the lawlessness and safety of our country. Basically, like God's blessing anti-immigration laws. I mean, it's like, man, you only have one book. Just read the goddamn book.
Yeah, unlike atheists who have textbooks upon textbooks that we gotta fucking read. We chose the wrong side. It would have been easier to just read that one. Actually, it's not. It's really hard to read the damn Bible. Every time we try to quote, just the way it's written is so fucking confusing.
And I mean, it's been translated like 27 times, so
Right.
you know, it's probably lost a couple meanings since then. But moving on, I got a little bit more irony for you here.
I love irony.
So do I. A 46-year-old NRA member has shot himself during a training session at the NRA National Museum. Cheddar Bob was released with minor injuries to his lower body. Doesn't specify where.
He shot himself in the dick.
No charges were filed. Apparently, while holstering his weapon, he had an accidental discharge. I don't know if that was.
Were we talking about a date of his, or?
Yeah, I don't know if that was a premature ejaculation or if they're actually talking about
something
the bullet,
went off in his pants and it affected his dick one way or another. That's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah, so I mean that's nothing really super exciting there, but we got to call these guys out when we get a chance to take a shot at them.
We'll be having any excitement anytime soon.
Next, and this happened a couple last week, but it's very important. So the nuclear option was invoked on the Supreme Court. We have a new nominee, an all-star. So a little bit about the nuclear option, and me and you were talking about this a little bit yesterday. So the nuclear option was first invoked, I think in 2013, I want to say. So the whole thing is that when a nominee from a president is put up for consideration, that nominee needs 60 votes for confirmation previously. And in most cases, that would mean you need a couple votes from the other side. Well, everybody knows when Obama came into office, the Republicans flat out their plan was to not let him do anything. So they continuously filibustered his nominees. And there's a process, it's called cloture, and that's the Senate votes to end a filibuster. And cloture has always required the 60 votes to end the filibuster. So what the Democrats did was they invoked the nuclear option to get some of Obama's nominees through because so many of them were getting filibustered. So they did that on low-level nominees, and specifically said they were not going to mess with Supreme Court nominees because it was such a big job and appointment that it should be done in the traditional manner. Excuse me. So, So as soon as the Republicans get in, they pull their nominee who,
stolen.
It was stolen, right? And it's fair to say that. But he's not. It's not necessarily a good nominee. On top of that, so it's not like they replaced him with somebody who's came in and just done or has a great record of working with people and all this. This guy, I don't know. Did you hear the story about the truck driver?
Yes.
Yeah.
He sided with the company.
The only judge out of I think like 20 judges to review this case, where this guy is literally freezing to death on the side of the road because his truck driving company tells him his brakes are frozen on the trailer, and he tells them I can't drive it. And they tell him, okay, sit right there until help comes. And I believe it was like -10 or something, freezing temperatures. And he left the trailer to go for warmth.
Yeah.
And the company fired him. And our nominee supported the company, saying basically it just shows, it's the pro-corporate agenda that these guys have, that it's just somehow this one out of 20 judges says, you know what, the company's right for firing this guy for not freezing to death.
Where I come from,
So,
you die on the job. God damn it.
so just a little bit about the filibusters for the nominees. So there have been 72 nominees who have been filibustered. 36 of those were Obama's, and this is in the entire history of the United States. So
Shit.
so half of the nominees that were held up were in the last 8 years, with the Republicans just not wanting to work with Obama.
So that kind of takes away from the turtle, Mitch McConnell, coming out and saying, you guys lost, you need to play ball. Like, it takes the wind out of those sails.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And, it's
because that's exactly 50%.
Yeah, exactly 50%. And I mean, that's just crazy when you look at 8 years compared to 250, plus.
I don't know when the filibuster was created. Was that around from the beginning?
I know
it was early. I know it was early on. It was very early.
It is. It has a long history, and this step is huge. The one thing that still requires 60 votes is for legislation to pass, but who knows how long that is just in place, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's there.
I got it right here. The first Senate filibuster occurred in 1837. So we'll say since it was an option throughout the 1830s, but the very first Senate filibuster was in 1837.
1837. So I mean, that's quite a long history, and the problem, just honestly, is just politics are not what they used to be. You can't talk to the other side now. It's crazy.
Polarized is an understatement.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I hadn't talked to in a while since before the election, and that was one of the first. I was trying to stay off the political subject, and he's like, "Hey, we haven't talked since before the election." So, and he's a Trump supporter, and there was another Trump supporter with him, and how do you feel was basically the question, and I said, you know what, my truth is bullshit, and so is yours. Until that changes, there's nowhere for us to go. There just isn't. And more on that later.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, he's in. I think he's been confirmed. He's going to start. I don't know if he started this week or something, but yep. So that's our new nominee, and take it and like it. So another thing that happened a couple weeks ago.
Wait. Hold on.
What do you got?
The same thing I'm going to keep on fucking saying. This is exactly what we said would fucking happen. This was not the lesser of two evils. Okay, moving on. Yeah. Sorry, I got to call it. I'm sorry.
I know. CIA and WikiLeaks. So this happened a couple weeks ago, but basically WikiLeaks has released over 8,000 pages of CIA documents that give details on spy programs for things like smart TVs, cars with Bluetooth capabilities, encrypted apps like WhatsApp or even Skype. So right now we could be being monitored by the CIA.
Fuck Trump. Okay.
I don't think the CIA likes Trump either too much, to be honest. It has also been disclosed that the CIA created a form of malware, and you're lucky to have had Apple for a long time, but
say it again.
PC.
How's an Android tablet working out for you, Alex?
Actually, it's Microsoft, and it's the charger that's not working. I would take my Samsung Note over your iPhone any day, but let's move on.
You're comparing a tablet to a phone. I would put the iPad 7.
My Note is my phone, just so you know.
You carry around that huge thing? Whatever. Moving on. My shit won't be hacked. So anyway, go ahead.
I keep thinking that. Yeah. So this, I mean, recently it was actually since Trump was elected. I read the book Big Brother, and have you read it or
I have not.
it's pretty interesting, man. It's pretty interesting. It was, or it's called 1984. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Big Brother. 1984, and it was written, I think in the 20s or something. But it was just about a society where Big Brother, that's the name of kind of the government, is watching everything and controlling everything. And I always thought like, that's some crazy exaggeration. And then as I finished the book, and maybe 2 weeks later, this WikiLeaks came out. It's just like, what the hell? I mean, your smart TVs are literally listening devices, even when they're turned off.
Now, back on episode 7-ish, so about a year ago, one of the funniest clips from you is you going off about Mr. Madden, your junior high history teacher. And yes, he's still a fucktard because he thought the logo was recording everything, but it we've said before on here things that sound insane, some of it ends up being true years later when you find out about it. I hate talking about these things because I don't want to be considered a tinfoil hat person. I'm really not that kind of guy, but I do buy Apple.
That's not enough. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, this is the CIA. Some of these documents show how they've created these programs, and basically, I mean, all of it is just to get our information. The bottom line. So, don't anybody operate under the assumption that what they're doing is not being monitored, because it seems like we can't make that assumption anymore. So,
well, I had a similar experience when I watched and afterwards looked into Edward Snowden.
uh-huh.
That'll do it. That'll make you want to put fucking covers on all your cameras and shit.
Yeah. And then, recently Congress voted to sell our internet browsing history too. So,
Perfect.
yep. So one last thing I got here, and that's actually some good news, possibly. Tom Perez, the new DNC chair, um, asked all of the DNC committee members to resign. I think it comes in effect April 15th. At first, I thought this was groundbreaking, and he came in there and was like, "All right, everybody resign. We're gonna start all over." I did some research, and it's actually kind of a normal thing for when a new chairperson takes in effect. But I'm glad that it happened. It is, I guess, a progress. And the idea of this was to prepare for future elections and obviously win some.
Right.
So we'll monitor the situation. We weren't excited necessarily for Tom Perez, but we'll have to see how he handles it. And I mean, you got to give him a fair shake, I guess, a little bit. But to me, the way the Democrats in general handled the Gorsuch thing, it's just weakness. It's just, I mean, they should have came. I don't know, exactly how to do it, but you just should have came out there blasting these guys and showing all the hypocrisy and all this. And I don't know. I just feel like the opposition to being fucked, they just kind of bent over. I mean, it really would have been nice to see some kind of to fight out of the Democrats, and it just hasn't happened.
Well, speaking of elections, I'll be checking my phone to see if the results come in. But the seat that was left open in Kansas from Mike Pompeo, their special election to fill his spot is going on right now. and I don't see a result in yet. But if I do get it on the show, I will let you guys know.
Perfect. I know there's a Bernie guy running. So
Yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted if it actually does go through. But this is a district that Trump won by 30 points, and Trump and Pence actually flew out there to that district today to rally up voters. So they're really worried about it. This could be a positive sign of things to come for 2018. I mean, if people are if people are really on buyer's remorse now, just not even
3 months
90 days
into it.
into this,
Yeah, that's true.
that's a really good sign. So let's get to our top stories. So, man, I don't even want to discuss these. That's some scary shit. So we're gonna start off with Syria here. So Trump fired 60 Tomahawk missiles, and 58 landed onto an airfield in Syria in response to the use of chemical weapons, as we were talking about with Little Spicy earlier. So Vladimir Putin, the Russians are saying that they hit a rebel stronghold which had a chemical stockpile in it. As far as I know, no proof at all has come out yet. This was based on intelligence.
And actually, and in recent intelligence I was just reading today has actually shown that the U.S. right now is operating under the assumption that Russia knew that this attack was going to happen. Apparently, they had a drone in the area flying over a hospital for a long time.
Right.
And then after the chemical attack took place, Russia actually came in with their fighter jets and bombed that hospital. Good job, Russia.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be a kind of cover up. Supposedly, people were going to focus more on the hospital than the gas.
Well, I have my own theory about this whole thing, but one little other piece to get out of the way is Rex Tillerson is currently in Moscow right now. Everybody's waiting to hear if he's actually going to meet with Putin or if he's going to meet with with his counterpart, the Russian Secretary of State or Russian ambassador. But Tillerson has, ever since he showed up there, he did do a press release from Moscow, and he's kind of. Yesterday it was, and up through this morning it was Russia, Vladimir Putin. You need to decide: are you with us or are you with Assad? Which side of this battle are you going to be on? You need to choose. And then his press release, it was a little more toned down. He's not willing to actually say that Putin knew about the chemical weapons stock or that he had any knowledge that it would happen. He's not saying that. This is coming from him, even though Russians were supposedly staged at that airfield. Now, here's my tinfoil hat again. I think this is bullshit. I seriously do. I think this is bullshit. That fucking airfield opened up the same day?
It was open the same day.
It was 58 Tomahawk missiles landed there, and the airfield was reopened later that day. And if Trump is trying to put some public distance between himself and anybody, who is it? It's gonna be Russia.
But the problem, the problem with Syria, and we've talked about it before. It's just and neither of us are experts, obviously, but it's just so complicated. There really is. There's no simple solution. It's bigger, I almost want to say, than Trump's relationship with Putin, because so you're saying the chemical attack and everything, or the bombing of Syria?
I'm not exactly sure. I just this was too, to me, the fact that the strike wasn't that big of a deal, obviously with the airfield reopening the same day.
But I think so. The way that I see it, and I'm not really taking conspiracy theories into it, which is not maybe an error on my part. There could be some truth to them, but I, I honestly think I don't put it past Assad. He's used it in the past.
Right.
So this is the last to I didn't mention this earlier, but this is the last rebel stronghold in Syria.
Right.
I mean, he's been beating them back with the help of Russia, with the help basically of ISIS because they're kind of fighting all each other. But so the rebels don't own that much territory in Syria anymore. This is the last stronghold. So to me, obviously tactically, not morally or anything like that, but you could see, I mean, how it would kind of make sense to kind of just demoralize the enemy.
Right.
So I could see, potentially that happening. I see Trump watching it on Fox News, throwing a tantrum and saying, "I'm freaking gonna blow something up."
I want to have fun too. Yeah.
Bypassing Congress.
Yeah. That's the scary part about this whole thing. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know any of this for sure. It's the only reason I'm saying that is because this is a very big tail to wag to get everybody to stop thinking about the relationship. Well, not necessarily to stop thinking about the relationship, but start looking at the relationship between the Trump administration and Putin's Russia in a negative way, in the sense that they're at each other's throats rather than, he's in Putin's pocket. To me, this was, it's reached heights. I mean, we got, Nunes, the Republican leading the investigation with the Russian hacking and the Trump ties and all that stuff, just had to recuse himself. And all of this evidence is coming up. Michael Flynn wants immunity in order for him to testify. That relationship's looking really bad. To me, one of two things is going on. It's either really, really good timing for Donald Trump, or maybe some of this really did happen, and they're steering this in the right direction to favor the American people, not looking at Trump and Putin as buddy as much anymore. I think one of those two things has happened. I don't know. We'll see. But you bring up the not getting congressional approval to just fire weapons. So take the next topic. Why do we have to worry about that?
Well, yeah. So because North Korea, and we talked about North Korea a little bit before we took our break. And I mentioned that, in my opinion, that is kind of the hot spot going forward. They test fired another missile. I think it blew up or whatever. But Trump's response is to send a strike team of ships. So I believe it's 10 ships, and one of them is an aircraft carrier. So, I mean, it's the big guns. As well as like missile destroyers and cruisers. So
And
and I mean,
nuclear submarines.
it's I mean, it equals probably the navy of half the world, and it's on its way to North Korea, the Korean Peninsula right now, basically as a flexing of the muscles.
So in response to that, Kim Jong-un said if they are provoked, they will not hesitate to strike. And that was in response, I believe, to earlier this morning when Trump was giving an interview on Fox News. When, in so many words, he basically said, "If I want to, I'll wipe you off the map." This was the problem, giving that man baby such expensive and deadly toys. Trump later went on and tweeted, North Korea is looking for trouble. If China decides to help, that would be great. If not, we will solve the problem without them, USA. I know. Let me get through this next tweet real quick. Hold on. I know. And then he followed that up with another tweet that said, I explained to the president of China that the trade deal with the U.S. will be far better for them if they solve the North Korea problem. I have.
Who the hell reads these tweets? Like, I mean, like,
let me
who does
see
he
here.
think? Who does he think is reading? I mean, like,
Well, it's
does
got
he?
15,000 retweets, 60,000.6 likes, and 7,000 replies on the second one. And the first one, 99,000 likes, 39.6 thousand retweets, and 21,000.3 replies. But the 21,000.3 replies are likely also people telling him
Yeah.
to shut the fuck up.
I mean, it's just like, especially the first one. I mean, it's just like, is that supposed to be official communication? Like, is China supposed to see that and be like, oh, he tweeted this, we better act on it?
Well,
I-
actually, they called him extremely irresponsible for his actions in Syria.
It's just, it's amazing. And you know, the thing that we need to worry about is if he, I mean, number one, what to do with North Korea. The same thing as Syria. Anytime you have regime change, it's not a smooth transition. I mean, look at Iraq.
Right.
So if we were to assassinate him, send those goofy bastards in there, assassinate him. I'm talking about the movie. Or you know, take him out or whatever.
Did you say the goofy bastards?
From the what's that movie?
Inglorious Bastards.
No, not that movie. The one where it's in North Korea.
Seth Rogen and James Frank. I thought you were like, I thought Disney remade Inglorious Bastards or some shit. The goofy bastards. And I want my scalps. Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving
on. Yeah. So go. You know, with the potential actions there, what does North Korea do? They have a really big army. I know it's at least 1 million people. That they can't feed them, but they got 1 million people army, and they would invade South Korea immediately, and that would, I guess, cause another Korean War. Which would drag us in because we are very close ally with South Korea,
and we have to worry about China. And the only problem I have with Trump's second tweet is that he tweeted it. You know, that's what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be the deal maker. All right, fine. If you think you can make a deal with China on trade deals and get them to put Lil Kim in his place,
but at the same time, listen to what he's saying though. And that completely goes against his whole campaign where he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to be tough on China. I'm going to."
Oh,
he's saying,
no, exactly.
Hey, yeah, he's saying like, "Hey, I'll give you guys, I'll hook you guys up."
Yeah, we do get the fall off the truck deal.
Yeah,
yeah, but no, it does.
Out.
It takes away from that. But then again, people elected him for his negotiation skills, and as I've said before, China is non-interfering with foreign politics. They are all about business. So I still have I'm still hoping China will step in and get this done because a war in Korea is bad for their foreign business. It just is, especially with the United States. So, but that is way more of a hot spot, I think, than what's going on in Syria. I think the possibility of World War III could likely come out of that before it comes out of Syria. But it's too fucking much. 90 days in, and we're more into one battle than we've been so far, and we're on the verge of a war that could potentially turn into World War III, depending on where China falls.
Yeah, definitely scary stuff, and we have a baby in charge.
A baby who's not going to the people, the representatives, to get approval before he just acts.
And I mean, that is definitely worrisome, as well as the fact that we, for the first time, fired on a sovereign country. I mean, it's one thing when we bomb Syria and we're taking out ISIS or whatever, but if Syria had any kind of army, I mean, I would imagine they would declare war on us. I mean,
yeah, at least spend 6 months or 6 months to a year lying to us about weapons of mass destruction before you just go do some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, so, all right, everyone, here it comes.
Now it's time for AOR's The 5 Giant Dicks of History. And that's going where?
That's right. It is the return of Giant Dicks of History. I have said many times on this show in regards to religion that faith is a motherfucker. And that's because when I argue with religious people, I tell them that they would not have faith of this magnitude for any other topic that they lacked evidence for their argument. If we were talking about anything else, they would not put so much stock into a belief. So, for example, Christians wouldn't vote overwhelmingly for a man who is on his third marriage and brags about sexual assault. Well, maybe they would because he uses Tic Tacs, so maybe that makes him a gentleman in their book. I don't know, but what is perhaps most disturbing about this whole thing is that man obviously did become president and may be leading us, as we just discussed, into World War III. We have two opportunities, one in Syria and one in North Korea at the moment. So, why is this? This is because people will take faith over what they have seen and heard for themselves. So does this prove that the argument that I've been using is wrong? I'm not really sure, but it does prove their hypocrisy and willingness to sacrifice not only their religious values that they claim to hold so highly, but now they are willing to sacrifice the values they hold politically as well. So, who is our giant dick this week? It's Republicans. Mainly the politicians. I'm talking about Mitch McConnell. I'm talking about Lindsey Graham. I'm talking about John McCain, who, by the way, said the nuclear option. We forgot to say this. John McCain said that whoever voted for the nuclear option or said it was a good idea is a stupid idiot 1 or 2 days before he voted for it. So I'm talking about all these motherfuckers. What do? They call the Democrats enablers of America's entitled lazy underbelly. I call them the disablers of progress. Not just the progress of the left wing or America as a whole, but even for their own agendas. Think about this. Remember 8 years ago, we heard nothing about, we heard nothing but blaming mentally ill people for gun violence, for mass shootings. Then, a month ago, as we discussed on this show, they passed a bill basically disabling these restrictions so the mentally ill can purchase firearms because they should not be denied that right. But if I remember correctly, Alex, in the same week, they passed a law removing the illegalities of silencers because guns hurt your ears.
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So they do that. Well, how about how they claim to be the patriotic party and they support our troops at all costs? Cost is kind of the key word here because military men and women turned out in mass numbers to vote for this guy who skipped a Fox News debate to hold a rally with, what's that guy's name? Mike Huckabee, where they raised over $5 million and then gave none of it to the VA, who they were holding that event for. Not to mention his 10% increase to the military will go to benefit the corporations that make up the military-industrial complex. This means defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, not people like William Ryan Owens, who is the Navy SEAL that died in the Yemen attack, which was the very first military operation Trump ordered that was not ready to go. But was that Trump's fault? No. Why? Because he knows more than the generals. He told us himself, and when Ryan Owens died, he blamed the generals. It's their fault. But speaking of that 10% increase, one of the government agencies that got gutted to make up for that money so we can give it to the military is the EPA. But wait, aren't these the same people who claim to love the outdoors and hunting and fishing or just camping? I mean, honestly, they would have to be because city-dwelling liberals are not the ones that are keeping Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop in business. There's just, right? There's like no way. But the list continues to go on. Along with their rock-hard patriotism comes the judgment of those deemed to be un-American, as Bill O'Reilly would call them, the pinheads. Yet the same people say their Confederate flags are just a symbol of their heritage, But let's not forget, they are the party of Lincoln. Did they fucking forget which flag Lincoln flew? Alex, how did we never reach this contradiction before?
Yeah, it's a good point.
They claim to be the party of Lincoln, yet fly the flag he fought against. Whatever. But it's not just their patriotism that makes them so superior. It's their values. They push a religion into our schools and our politics, and they do this by denying women's right to choose, yet they ignore the whole feed the poor thing that great Jesus guy was always blabbing about. But if they're not Jewish, who is Ted Cruz pleasing every morning when he wakes up on his knees? Because they're not listening to that guy. So who is Ted Cruz performing fellatio on? That's my point. I wake up every morning on my knees. It's not for Jesus, because you're not listening to your own teachings. This is what I mean by them they're not following their own agenda. And they use the right-wing media spokespeople to spread these values. People like Bill O'Reilly, the top political cable news host who may now be following in the footsteps of Roger Ailes. All major companies right now, because of Bill O'Reilly's sexual harassment charges, have officially pulled their commercials from the airtime during the O'Reilly factor. Seems to be kind of a trend here. But look at Congressman Shorty, the guy we talked about a few weeks ago. Shorty spoke out. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Shorty stood up against transgender bathroom rights and gay marriage, then was caught in a Motel 6, I believe, across the street from a church with an underage boy. But hey, have some faith. When these guys, the Republican politicians and the political pundits that back them up and spread their message are on the golf course, or shooting each other in the face while hunting, or even, yes, getting blown by an underage boy in a motel, they're thinking about you, the little guy. But then again, as I said, faith is a motherfucker. That's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, the Age of Reason Facebook page on Facebook. And for everything else, AORpodcast.com. We will see you guys next week.